Grace and peace. I am Reverend Brian Musser, the Baptist campus minister at Drexel University, and this is the Peace and Power Bible Study, the peace of Jesus Christ to change your life, the power of the Holy Spirit to change the world. And we're going through a series called Good News. The gospel is good news for every person and every part of life. And I don't know about you, but we're kind of living in a place where good news is needed. Of course, good news of the gospel is always needed. Last week, we talked about what the gospel was, and we worked through, in maybe kind of a different way than you've been encouraged to do before, but we worked through the details of the gospel. And hopefully, you've been thinking through what the gospel is and rehearsing that in your mind in a way that maybe you haven't before. This week, we're going to start looking at how the gospel connects to every part of our lives. And this is borrowed from Tim Elmore, but we have in our lives, we basically deal with 5 areas that we have questions about, 5 major key categorical areas. These are what young adults question more than anything else, college students, but I also believe that everybody is dealing with questions in these 5 areas. The 5 quick areas are relationships, lifestyle, purpose, belonging, and beliefs. This week, we're going to just unpack what those are a little bit and hint at how the gospel connects to them. But each of the subsequent weeks, we'll look at each one of these areas in depth. First, relationships. Okay, so how many conversations in your life do you have about relationships? And I'm not just talking about love and romantic relationships, but about parents, about kids, about neighbors, about classmates, about peers. How do we relate to one another as human beings? Questions like, who do you love and who is going to love me? And how do I treat everyone else outside of myself? So we're going to be looking at questions about relationships and how the gospel helps us and deals directly with relationships. Lifestyle. This is an interesting one. What is the good life? What is the type of life that I ought to be trying to achieve? For us who live in the US, this used to be summed up in what was called the American dream. That was the lifestyle you should have had, you were striving for. One, does that still exist? And how does the gospel communicate to how I ought to live my life? What is the good life that I need to be striving for? Another one is purpose. I have a limited amount of time, energy, money, resources. How should I spend what I have, the resources I have, the time I have, the energy I have? How should I spend that? What is a good purpose for me to dedicate my life to? Often this is wrapped up in career, in work, in family, but what is the ultimate reason I should be living my life? The gospel will be speaking to this question as well. Belonging. Where do I fit in? Where can I call home? Where will they accept me for who I really am? Where can I be myself? Belonging, or sometimes I refer to this category as home. And ultimately, beliefs. What do I believe? What is true? But this question might be a little bit different these days. It's not so much what is true, but actually who do I trust? And we see these ideas coming more and more where there are multiple truth claims, and which one will you actually trust? So these are the questions that most people are wrestling with in their lives, and the gospel speaks to every single one of these areas. We're going to highlight how the gospel speaks to these areas this week But in subsequent weeks, we're going to unpack each one of these ideas, each one of these topics in a way that you will understand how the gospel connects with your life much more intimately than you ever have before. As always, there are two ways to join. You can join us live Monday nights, Eastern Standard Time via Zoom for the discussion and the Bible study, or you can continue watching these video wrap-ups that I'll be posting each week on YouTube and on my WordPress site. And as always, you can find me all over the social media, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, WordPress, YouTube. Those links will be below in the descriptions. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope to see you again.